Hello and welcome to Sip Sip Hooray, the podcast for wine lovers and the wine curious, where we go behind the label of some of our favorite wines and some new discoveries too. On the podcast today, how a native of Colombia started out on the road to becoming a chemical engineer, decided to pivot and study enology in France, and after working in nearly every wine region in France, found her way to the U.S., where she started her own label and quickly became one of the most celebrated young winemakers in America. Her name is Bibiana González Rave, and she is a busy woman with 3 different labels, Cattleya Wines and the more approachable Alma de Cattleya, which you may have seen in wine shops or, like in the Bay Area, some supermarkets too. She also has a wine that she makes with her husband, Jeff Pisoni. Yes, that Pisoni family. Their wine is called Shared Notes. Bibiana puts her heart and soul into crafting exceptional wines, and she's built a thriving business. She's also a mother to 2 young boys. We are excited to chat with her today. We are the 2 Marys who like to eat, drink, and be merry. I'm Mary Babbitt.
I'm Mary Orland. Bibiana's first sip of wine at age 11 led to a life in wine. Even though wine is not grown or made in her native Colombia, she was determined to pursue her teenage dream of becoming a winemaker. Today, Bibiana is one of the most passionate and determined winemakers around. Her wines pay homage to her Colombian roots while reflecting the soul of the California vineyards she works with. Bibiana is also a member of one of the most beloved wine families, the Pisonis, who produce coveted wines from California's Santa Lucia Highlands. In fact, when she first met Gary Pisoni, her father-in-law-to-be, he read her astrological chart and made a bold prediction. We'll get the behind-the-scenes story on all that. But Bibiana has her own voice behind her Cattleya label, and we're thrilled she's here to share her story today. Bibiana, welcome to Sip Sip Hooray.
Good morning, Mary and Mary. Thank you so much for having me on the podcast today.
We're glad you're with us, and we're anxious to share your story with our listeners. And I guess the first thing that comes to mind is you're from Colombia, and that's not known as a wine-growing, wine-producing country. So tell me how you got into the wine world.
Yeah, that's such a great question. As you mentioned, I grew up in Medellin, Colombia. Medellin is a city of about 3 million people, so it's a really large city. And Colombia is really close to the equator, so we have tropical weather. We do not have seasons, so it's not a country where you can really produce wine of quality. I grew up, and about 14 years old, I started telling everybody that I wanted to make wine, but I really didn't know what wine meant. Like, I didn't know how wine is made. I have never seen a vineyard in my life, but I was just really fascinated by the idea of making wine and producing something from grapes that then transforms into a liquid product that is in a bottle for sometimes even 100 years.
Well, wait, how did you at 14 even come up with that notion?
I know, it's just really bizarre. Like, I really don't have an explanation. I tell people sometimes, I don't know if it's because I grew up in a very Catholic country where you pretty much every single weekend people go to mass. And I was fascinated maybe with the concept of blood of God and the priest drinking the wine, but we were not drinking the wine. So I was like, oh, why do they get to drink wine? I don't know. I think that it was such a mysterious project for me because nobody drank it at the time. My parents never drink wine. So I really didn't grow up in a family where wine was part of the dinner table. And I just, the more I start reading about it, without even drinking wine, I just kept being super interested and drawn to the idea of making wine.
So because there's no wine industry in Colombia. You went to school for engineering, but I think you always had this desire or passion to pursue wine. So can you kind of tell us about your path from university in Colombia and how you eventually landed in France?
Yeah, that's such a great question. So I kind of, because we don't have any education on wine in Colombia, I thought that maybe I could study chemical engineering and that would take me through the path of understanding better organic chemistry and fermentation. But obviously, chemical engineering is completely different than really going on the direction of organic chemistry. So I realized that I was not going to learn about wine. So I decided to stop my career of chemical engineering and took a break for 6 months. And I actually went to Seattle in the US to learn English at the time, and was able to visit 1 or 2 wineries in Washington State, obviously. And I was not of the age of drinking, but the person I was living with allowed me to taste some wines. I was like, this is really what I want to do. So I came back to Colombia and contacted, wanted to study maybe business administration. So I told my mom I wanted to do business, so maybe I could become the president or the CEO of a winery. So I actually did another year of university in
Oh,
Colombia.
wow. Okay.
And
Wow.
then I just say to my parents, okay, I'm not learning how to make wine. I'm going to go to Chile and I'm going to make wine in Chile. So my mom looked at me and she's like, why don't you go to France and study winemaking? You keep talking about really wanting to learn the craft. And for my parents, it was quite important that I get a degree on something. So I applied to um, um, I applied to 11 schools in France. So I went to the embassy of France in Bogota, which is the capital of Colombia. And they said to me, the best way to learn about wine is if you go to School of Viticulture and Enology. So there are 11 of those schools in France.
Okay.
And I applied to all of them. And a few months later, I received letters from all of them denying my application.
Ah,
So I was like,
that's disheartening.
yeah. So I was like, oh, this is just not happening. I had a friend in Paris and I said, I'm just going to go to France and I'm going to show up to these schools. So that's what I did. I went to France on the summer of 2000. And the first school I visited was the School of Angoulême in Cognac. And after going to the school, I had to wait for a whole day to meet the principal of the school, which I ended up meeting at the end of the day. And he showed me around, and it was my first time seeing vineyards, and it was just really amazing. And they took me in. So I started to study viticulture and enology in Cognac, and then I went to the University of Bordeaux in Bordeaux.
Well, you were persistent. You weren't about to give up, because when you got to that dean's office, they said he didn't have time to see you that day. And you said, that's okay, I'll just wait.
Yep. Yeah. So I arrived like at 8 a.m. in the morning and didn't think that they were not going to let me see him. So I didn't have any food. I didn't plan for anything. So I'm sitting at this secretary office and she's like, well, he can't. Who are you? Like, and I didn't know any French in addition to it. So I was speaking in Spanish and telling this person that I came to see the principal of the school. And she's like, but who are you? I'm like, oh, I sent a letter a few months ago, so he knows who I am. And little I knew, all the letters were actually rejected by the Ministry of Agriculture. So they didn't really go to each individual school. The education in France is very centralized. And when foreigners are coming to study in France for this specific degree, it goes through the national Ministry of Agriculture, who then decides like what school would have a place for you. So at the end of the day, I mean, I learned all of that after I interview with the principal. So I sit down until 4:30 in the afternoon, and I think they realized I was not going to go anywhere. So they let me meet with him, and it was really amazing. I feel very fortunate.
But so you didn't speak French, and yet you were able to study in France?
Yeah, so I didn't know any French. So when I talked with the principal and he showed me around, there was a day where all the teachers for the degree of viticulture and enology were in a meeting. And he comes and introduced me in French. So I'm speaking Spanish. They are all obviously speaking French. Nobody speaks English or Spanish. And then they were like he was explaining that I was going to come and study. And they were all like, what do you mean she's going to study here? I was like, yeah, she understands all my jokes. And I'm like nodding, and I don't know what they are saying. So they were like, what is going on? And I really didn't know any French. So once I got accepted and I started to study, I would every day have like a dictionary, a grammar book, because French grammar is quite complex, notebooks about the subject that we were studying. I would try to take notes. So I always refused to write in Spanish. So I would just write however things sounded.
Okay.
Then at the end of the day, I would take another student's notes and I would rewrite all the classes. So I really learned French like in a month and a half. It was insane.
That's
amazing.
fantastic. Good
Yeah.
for you. So was enology everything you had hoped it would be? Like here's you had this childhood dream, and then so you actually made it happen. Did you discover that, aha, I was right as a kid, this is what I want to do?
Yeah, I still, even today, I remember the day I went to that school and I walked between the vines, and just that feeling, I have that same feeling every single time I go to any vineyard here in Sonoma, in Napa, in France, in South Africa, or when I go to the Santa Lucia Highlands. And it's just, I really think that, I mean, I was just meant to be a winemaker. That's the only option I had. And it just really feels like I have done it before, or it's just really like a very bizarre thing. I just really cannot explain it. But
That's
even
great
today, yeah. So this year is gonna be my 29th harvest, and I feel the same way every day making wine. So
That's
I'm
great.
quite fortunate. Yeah.
Well, you
And-
after school went to work at a lot of different wineries all around France, I think Australia and the US. I mean, you have quite a lot of winery experience.
Yeah, so I did 6 harvests in France. So I work in cognac, obviously. I made cognac with the school in my first year. I went to Alsace, Côte Rôtie, which is in the Rhone Valley, Burgundy, and Bordeaux. And after that, I did 3 harvests in South Africa. And as I mentioned, this year will be my 29th harvest. So obviously now many more harvests in the US than anywhere else. But yeah, almost three decades making wine, which is unbelievable. It's a beautiful ride.
When you first came to California to make wine, where did you work?
So I came to California in 2004, and I didn't know anything about Californian wine. So everything was just through students association in France. And they just kind of place you. You say, oh, I want to work for a small. So I say, I want to work for a small producer, Syrah producer. And I didn't know anything about appellations or anything. So I was very open anywhere. And I ended up being matched to La Crema, which is a massive, huge winery here in Sonoma County. Mm-hmm. And it was Chardonnay and Pinot Noir. So that was pretty eye-opening for me, because I have never worked in a place that large. Actually, one of the red fermenters at La Crema was equivalent to the entire production of few of the people I work for in France.
Oh,
so
wow.
So that was crazy.
Yeah, but it's probably great to have that type of experience.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, it gave me a great sense of being very organized. I ended up being the harvest assistant for the winery. And so I was managing all the red fermentation schedule. And I learned a lot about, being productive, being very organized, SOPs, teaching people how to do things and making it happen. So it was really amazing. I think every single of all my internships around the world were extremely valuable to me. So
Yeah, and through that, I'm sure you developed your own sense and style of what you wanted to make. But how did you go from being someone who worked for other people to having the courage, wherewithal, and resources to say, "I'm going to do this on my own"?
that is another great question. So, and thank you for asking that. When you are trained in France, you're never really thinking about, I'm gonna own my own winery. Like, it's not part kind of the education. You either are a family member, so you have, you have, you are gonna take over your parents' property, or you think you are gonna work for a winery for your entire life. People work 40, 60 years for a place. So I never really thought I would start my own label. And I would say that's mainly thanks to my husband, who is Jeff Pisoni. He's Californian born and raised. And he is a farmer from the Santa Lucia Highlands that grew up on the farm, seeing his father making wine, and became the winemaker for Lucia, Pisoni, and Lucy wines. So very different path. And we met for the first time in 2005, and we became really good friends. And in 2007, I was working on the Central Coast for Aubon, Cremant, and Coupé, but I really wanted to move back to Sonoma. So we kind of have this conversation about him coming to visit me in Santa Barbara and how to make a plan for me to move to Sonoma, because he lives in Sonoma. So we talked about it, and we ended up going out for dinner, and we ended up starting to date. So since 2007, every single year, Jeff would be like, when are you starting your own label? When are you starting your own label? I'm like, I don't want to do that. Like, why I'm going to do that? Like, I have just some, I had so much dedication for the wineries I was working at the time. However, in 2011, I decided to become a consultant winemaker. And I told my husband, I'm going to quit my full-time job, and I really want to consult for different wineries and really focus on estate farm fruit. And he was like, okay, are you going to start your own label? I say, no. So in 2011 also was the first vintage that my husband and his brother were making wine from a vineyard called Soberanes Vineyard from their Sierra block. So I happened to come one night to my husband's winery, and I'm looking at these grapes, and I'm like, oh my gosh, Jeff, you have one of the most beautiful Syrahs. This is amazing. You're going to make an amazing wine. And again, that night he said, why don't you start your own label? I give you a ton of grapes and you can do whatever you want with them. And I said, no, again. So he kept bringing this sample of juice and wine every day home from these grapes. And he was like, oh, so what will you do with this? Will you do a punch down? Do you want to do a pump over? Do you want us to start fermenting? And I was like, wow, Jeff, we don't consult on each other. We are very independent on our winemaking. So I'm like, oh, wow, that's surprising that he's asking me for all of this advice. But obviously, I was very happy to tell him. So he kept asking me. And finally, in 2012, when I quit my job at the Lidmar Estate, I came home and he said, well, that ton of fruit that you didn't want, but that you were telling me every day what to do with, we did it. we were really following all your protocols on
Oh,
this
wow.
wine.
That was
And
sneaky.
yeah, and then he said, if you want, Mark and I, we will give you this barrel of wine. So you should really start your own label. So that's really why I started my own winery. Now almost 15 years ago. Yeah.
That's great.
Wow.
So I just want to go back a little bit. There's a great story of when you first met Gary Pisoni and the astrological charts. So please tell us that. But also, you mentioned Jeff's brother, who is Mark Pisoni, and he's the farmer of the family. So I'd love for you to talk about Mark and the whole wine approach to wine growing. I think it's talk about sustainability and the approach to the farming and why that's important to you.
Yeah. So to your first question, it was very interesting. So Gary Pisoni is an unbelievable, just human being, a visionary. He definitely, what he did for Pinot Noir in California and for the Santa Lucia Highlands is remarkable. He's obviously just a legend. And he's also a very generous person, and he believes a lot on astrology. So every time he meets people, and Mary, I think he probably asked you that when he met you a long time ago. He would ask you for your birth date and time of the day. And then he doesn't tell you anything, but then he goes and he does this astral chart. So one day I was talking with Jeff. I was in Colombia. Jeff was here in California. And we were Skyping at the time. So this is such a long time ago. This was like 2007 when we started dating. And Gary was at Jeff's apartment. So, he introduced me to Gary. I have known him before, but we were just starting to date. So he's like, oh, hi, how are you? Blah, blah, blah. And then he asked me for my birthday, and he asked me for the time I was born, obviously, and the location, which was Medellin, Colombia. So then he comes like 20 minutes later. He said, like, daughter-in-law, you two are going to get married, and you're just perfect for each other. I'm like, oh, my God. Like,
Wow.
That's pretty intense.
Very intense. I'm like, this is just crazy. Like, we just started dating, and he's saying all of this. But he was right. We are together today. We have been together for 18 years.
Oh, that's great.
I love that. I love Gary, and I love that he helped bring you guys together and make you feel confident about it was meant to be.
That's when we were starting today, like a month or something like that. It was just so
oh wow,
it's in the stars. It was meant to be.
So
yeah.
So,
and then, to your other part of the question, so Mark Pisoni, as you said, is the farmer of the family. And Mark and Jeff, so they are two brothers. They don't have other siblings. And from growing up together, from the beginning, they were both, Mark was really drawn towards farming, the vegetable farm and the vineyards, because they still do a lot of vegetables. So they do broccoli, cauliflower, iceberg, and romaine lettuce. And then obviously Gary planted the vineyards in 1982, and now they farm 4 vineyards. So 3 vineyards in partnership with Gary Francioni and the Pisoni estate, who Gary planted in 1982. So since the beginning, they have always been very, very focused on high-end, great, exceptional production of Pinot Noir. So Gary was one of the first people to drop fruit, to do green drop, and to do so many passes to the vines to really ensure that the quality of the grapes were top. And they continue to do that on all the vineyards they have been developing in partnership with Gary Francioni. Mark certified all their vineyards sustainable probably like 15 years ago. So I would say one of the first growers to do that in the appellation. And definitely very committed to multi-generation, protecting the land, sustainability, regenerative farming, a lot of natural way of fighting against insects or disease. So they don't use, obviously, herbicides. They are not organic certified, but definitely thinking about water, energy, and human resources is super important to them. So they have a very long time team of workers. Some of them have been with them for 40 years. So it's
Wow.
pretty amazing.
Yeah. But as you said, just a legendary family, and from their grandparents to Gary to now Jeff and Mark, they've just been doing great things and continue that family name of excellence. And it's super impressive. Everybody loves them, and for good reason. You guys, you and Jeff have a shared label, but before we get to that, I would like to talk about your wines. And first, the name Cattleya, and then Alma de Cattleya. Tell us the difference between your two brands and what the name means.
Yeah, so Cattleya is the national flower of Colombia. It's actually a beautiful orchid. It only blooms once a year, so it's a very delicate, beautiful, unbelievable complexity of colors and very fragile, but at the same time, the flower lasts quite a bit once it has bloomed. I'm the only Colombian winemaker in the world, born and raised, trained, and that is a grower and a winemaker as a job, and men or women. So I really wanted to connect people, my brand, to Colombia, and to really just bring a more beautiful part of Colombia than what everybody knows Colombia for, the bad reputation of 90s and 80s, back with, all the drug cartels and kidnapping. So I first really wanted to showcase that I'm very proud of being Colombian. I love my country. I think it's a beautiful culture and beautiful people. And also the fact that I'm the only one making wine, obviously not in Colombia, but dedicated to it. We started Cattleya Wines with the intention to highlight single vineyards, single terroirs, but really exceptional wines that you can age for 20, 30, 50 years in the bottle, and to know that the wine is going to still have something really special to show. The Alma de Cattleya is a sister label that I started in 2014, so a few years after Cattleya. And the desire was just to make a more approachable, easy to drink wine at a lower price point. So we came with the Alma line. We have 6 wines. They are priced between $25 and $35 a bottle for all our Sonoma wines. And then we make 1 Napa Cabernet. And for that brand, we have a current wine club subscription. So people can really have and enjoy these wines as we release them. And it's not a big commitment because, it's just really trying to showcase Sonoma County and the beautiful, light, crispy, beautiful acidity and aromas that we get from this appellation.
Well, they are absolutely beautiful wines. You generously sent us several to try. You sent us the Alma de Cattleya Sauvignon Blanc, which is so crisp and fresh and
Gorgeous. Loved it.
aromatic. I loved it.
you.
Yeah. And then from the Cattleya line, we've got the Sonoma Coast Chardonnay, which was rich and unctuous. And then your Sonoma Coast Pinot Noir, you call the Goddess, which I love. And then the initiation is your Santa Lucia Highlands Syrah. And
Correct.
you mentioned you were talking about Syrah earlier in the Sobranes vineyard. Excuse me. But I also wanted to mention you also brought a selection, what's called a Massal selection, from the Côte Rôtie region of the Rhone Valley, and that a grower developed it for you from vineyards that had 100-year-old vines, and he planted that in the Pisoni vineyard. So tell me why that happened.
Yeah, so when I love Syrah, and actually I think it was probably my first variety love. And I just really love how those wines are so young and vibrant and beautiful, and how beautiful they also age. So when I was in Cotroti, I was part of conservatory project where they were selecting from all vines of La Serine Noir different plants, and then they were taking the cuttings and replanting 1 hectare of land for the appellation, where they were combining all the different selections from all growers. So it's really more like they call it, it's a conservancy place for the plant material that was not produced or cleaned by any ENTAB or any university in France. So the grower that did that, I worked with him as well, and he did. I always knew he was very into cuttings and developing his own plant material, and he offered me to do it for me, and I ended up bringing the cuttings in 2011. And as soon as we arrived to San Francisco, Jeff and we drove to the vineyard, met with Mark, and he planted the shoots. And then as he developed the vines, we started doing more cuttings. And now we have developed it to a small area at the Pisoni vineyard, located at the highest point of the vineyard. So it's about 1,400 feet elevation.
Okay. Do you ever use those grapes for your wines, or is it just for the Pisoni label?
No, it actually is. It's called the BB clone, and it's only for Cattleya. So it doesn't go to the Pisoni Syrah. But yeah, I make a wine that is called the Reward. And we bottle that wine only out of magnums. And so far, I only make 1 barrel every year. So we need to grow more the production.
Okay, yeah. 1 barrel is not very much.
I love that you did that. And your other varietals, tell me why you decided to go with the varietals you've chosen, and what, from all of your international experience, what were the things that you really wanted to make sure you expressed in your wine?
Okay, so that's
it's a big question, so you can take any part of it.
Regarding the varietals, I started to make a lot of Chardonnay and Pinot in Sonoma, and I really love the appellation. So I think that loving Sonoma County so much and realizing that Chardonnay and Pinot are king here, it just really, it's very obvious if you want to make extraordinary wines from this appellation, those 2 varietals are very successful. So I started just by my jobs and the different work that I did to make more Chardonnay and Pinot Noir, which is really how I pretty much, I would say, got discovered by the critics and the media. I would say mainly, I guess the first time that blindly my wines were score all above 90 points, and somebody be interested in learning more about my background was Jim Lobby, who unfortunately passed away recently. But he tasted the wines blind, and he was like, these wines are very different. Why these wines are so different? And I ended up meeting him after he has reviewed the wines blind. And it was just it's really amazing when you are tasting with people, like you, that you taste so many wines, about wine, and you can be surprised by just tasting a wine blind and just be intrigued by it and want to learn about it. So making Chardonnay and Pinot is pretty much what made me be a little bit recognized as a winemaker. And obviously Sonoma is a paradise to make great wines. I do also make a lot of Sauvignon Blanc. So on the Alma label, our biggest and fastest growing SKU is our Sauvignon Blanc. And I also make Sauvignon Blanc with my husband under a label called Shared Notes. So we are 100% focused on SB, Sauvignon Blanc, and we make 2 wines. So that's the label that we call Shared Notes.
Okay. Nice. Well, not only did Jim Lobby recognize your talents, but so did the San Francisco Chronicle. And in 2015, you were named Winemaker of the Year. Tell me about that.
Yeah. Oh, that's really one of the most special, I think, recognitions I have got, and I'm so thankful to Esther Mobley, who is the writer at the San Francisco Chronicle, and every year in December they highlight a producer and they choose their winemaker of the year, but you really don't know about it. So it's very interesting how it all came about. I was the consultant winemaker for the Meyer family at the time. So I was making the Wayfarer label. I was the vineyard manager and the winemaker for the property in the coast. And I have taken over the winemaking for the Napa production as well. So one day Esther writes to me and say, "Oh, I'm writing about Sonoma and I would love to spend a day with you. Are you available? It would be nice if we can drive, if we can drive to the coast and you can show me the vineyards and we can taste some wines." And oh, sure, absolutely. I would love to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So we go on this ride, I pick her up. We meet at a little parking lot, like at 5 a.m. in the morning. And we just drive to the coast to go to the vineyard, taste some wines, have some picnic at the coastal vineyard, drove back, went to another vineyard, went to the winery, and there was a photographer that followed us at the winery, but I didn't know anything at the time. I had my first son, so our nanny sometimes would bring him with me everywhere, so he would be with me at the winery.
Uh-huh.
So coincidentally, what was that day with us, and they were taking pictures, but I was like, I mean, not big deal, like maybe she's gonna write an article. And then, I just got surprised with a full page picture having my son when I was tasting wines for a blend trial. So
Yeah, it's a great photo. I'm looking at it right now.
Love. Ah, that's great. And you were also named one of the 40 under 40 or something like that?
Yes.
What is
Yeah.
that? Did I get that right?
Yeah. It was the first year the wine enthusiasts started their 40 under 40 back in 2014.
I love that. Congratulations. I mean, so you quickly made a name for yourself with your wines, and you guys you continue to expand what you're doing. And it's really ambitious because, as you said, you are a mom as well. You've got 2 young boys.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. We are very fortunate. I think that's the advantage of owning your own business in a way, because your family can be part of your work, and work is part of our daily family activities. Yeah, and I have two boys, 10 and 8.
I don't know how you make it all happen because I'm picturing your house around harvest time and how busy it must be.
Well, they are getting older, which is amazing because they can come with us on the weekend. They are very patient. They help. They love helping at the winery.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, during the summer they have help with bottling already, which is fun.
Wow.
So yeah, no, it's it's definitely very hectic, but we somehow manage to not die on the attempt of doing it all.
Yeah. And on top of all that, you and Jeff launched a coffee label under Shared Notes.
Right. This was great. Along with the wine you sent us a sample of your coffee, which was fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, how did that whole thing come about? Like both of you are deep into wine and like, yeah, let's add coffee.
Well, obviously I grew up in Colombia, love coffee, drink coffee my whole life. I have a lot of friends that their parents or uncles or aunts own coffee farms. So it was always something that I was very interested on. And before I really learned about wine, I thought I could make wine in Colombia. So one of my biggest dream was to go back to Colombia, establish a winery, have my own vineyard. And I had this idea that I would have schools for the kids of my employees, and that we were going to do all of this to develop a little town, kind of the way you see it on the books about France and Europe. But little I knew, we cannot really make quality wine in Colombia. So that idea kind of got ended really fast. So one day I just told Jeff, like, oh, Jeff, it would be so nice to farm in Colombia. Like, we know so much about vineyards and coffee and vineyards. Coffee farms and vineyards are something very similar. And coffee is actually a byproduct of a fermentation of Saccharomyces, which is the same yeast we use for wine naturally.
Oh, really? Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, you need to ferment the cherry to extract the seed of coffee.
I did not know. Wow.
And to be able to extract it, you kind of have to ferment it a little bit. So it becomes like, they call it mucilage. So it kind of becomes like a softer thing that then you can remove and then extract the seed. So coffee would not exist without yeast, same as wine would not exist without yeast, which is crazy.
Yeah.
And coffee quality is also evaluated on acidity level. So the higher the acidity level of a bean, the higher the quality of the farm and the beans, which for us, shared notes and Sauvignon Blanc is also a lot about acidity. So I was like, oh, it just totally makes sense. We should have a coffee farm and farm in Colombia and farm here. And Jeff is like, are you like crazy? Like, who's going to farm in Colombia? And so I said, like, well, we can partner with somebody that farms for us. And then he's like, well, what about we start importing beans to the US? We roast them here, and we start selling coffee. So that's how we started our own coffee roaster. We do only use Colombian coffee. And it's really centered around the city of Medellin, the department where Medellin is.
Mm. And you're doing this at the winery?
Yes.
It's unbelievable. It's fantastic. And so how do you decide? So at what point of the day do you switch from drinking coffee to tasting wine?
Good question.
Well, sometimes we taste wine like at 8 a.m. if we are bottling,
Yes.
or if you are doing a long blend on a day. Sometimes you are just tasting any time of the day. But I drink a lot of coffee. I just cannot drink really that much coffee in the afternoon as I used to.
Or you can't sleep, right?
Yeah, I can't sleep. Like I used to drink an espresso before I go to bed, like no problem.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Until I had my first kids, until I got pregnant with my first one. And it just completely changed the way I process coffee. I don't know. It's just weird.
Yeah.
But I drink a lot of coffee. Oh my gosh. I can drink 10 cups of coffee before noon.
What?
Oh, wow.
What?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And wait, how do you like it? Are you just black, cream and sugar?
Black. Always black. Unless I'm drinking a cappuccino. I love cappuccinos.
Same. But if you drink it black, you know good coffee, and good coffee is important because you're actually just tasting the coffee as opposed to the cream and sugar, which, I sometimes say I look forward to a hot cup of cream in the morning. But so I mean, I guess that tells me that your shared notes is good coffee, because if you're drinking it black and you enjoy 10 cups a day of it, it must be good.
Right.
It's very important. And we are really selecting like extremely like super, super high-end farms. So many of them are very small farms. It's all high elevation because it's on the mountains in the Andes, mountains that finish in Colombia. And we look for fair trade, sustainable farming, organic farming. We carry about 5 different farms, and they all change across the months, depending on how many sacks of coffee we were able to procure.
I think it's fantastic that it's kind of I guess it's a way also of giving back to your home country. And I think, unfortunately, in the United States, what we've heard about Medellin and Colombia has, been mainly negative. So to highlight some of the good stuff that comes from Colombia, I think it's wonderful. And I'm glad you're able to do that. We've heard of the drug cartels and things like that for so long.
Yeah, no, there are so many great things about Colombia. So I'm very happy about finding this opportunity that hopefully will expand one day into farming in Colombia as well, and really completing that full circle that I want to do of teaching so much what we know about agriculture and just all the knowledge I have been able to grab by studying, but also by all my internships around the world. And we are just so privileged, and we have such an amazing opportunity to share a lot of what we do in Colombia as well. So I think that whenever we can find a way to complete that project, it would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Well, Bibiana, I have no doubt that you will accomplish that. You have set your mind to so many things and you've made it happen. So I expect to see that vineyard in Colombia one day.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So you had mentioned to us in a prior conversation that you also have plans for the future, that you may have a coffee bar at the winery one day.
For the so what we would like to do is more education around coffee, and something that consumers don't do too often is what people buying coffee call cupping, which means you can do you are doing a tasting experience but of coffee. So we would like to do that. We would like to start offering cupping of our different farms, but also to showcase other coffees that people kind of drink on their everyday life, or the coffee from a supermarket that you buy on a tinfoil can, or just so people can really understand like the huge diversity and difference between countries, coffees, and just to really explain the quality of the coffee we produce.
I think it's a fantastic idea. And like what we're used to with when you go to wine tasting, you're getting an education as well. So I think it's a great idea to educate people about coffee. Your wines, I mentioned that I've seen Alma de Cattleya in Safeway Market near me here in the Bay Area. Where else can people find your wines, and what do you want them to know about visiting you as well?
Yeah, so regarding visiting the winery, we do by appointment only, Monday through Friday. And we really offer a very different experience, because people get to see where we make wine and how we make wine. So if it's harvest time, you might be coming to the sorting table and see me sorting grapes, or tasting the juice out of the press. So it's a very interacting kind of experience that really opens the doors to how we make wine here. Regarding where people can find our wines in California, we have a great distributor that I love, and they are great partners and really well situated across Southern and Northern California. So many restaurants, some specific Safeways, not all of them, but just like a select group of Safeway has the wines, independent retailers, online, by the glass at many restaurants. So it just depends where you live. So I always just tell people, if they want to find my wines, they can call us to the winery and say where they live. And we would definitely love to suggest some great restaurants in that area.
Great.
Yeah, I've definitely seen it on a by the glass list here where I live in the Palm Springs area.
Awesome.
Well, it's been so fun chatting with you and getting to know your story. Just super impressive. Your energy is boundless, and obviously your talent is too. Your wines are truly beautiful, and I'm being completely sincere when I say I enjoyed all of them. So thank you for sending them, and I can't encourage our listeners enough to give them a try. They're really great wines.
Absolutely. But we have just so enjoyed hearing your story and sharing your story. And as I said, I know one day we will see your dream come full circle. So keep going.
Thank you so much. It's such a pleasure to talk with both of you. And I can't wait to have you at the winery. You need to come and experience how we make wine here in Sonoma.
I would love to. That would be great.
Yeah. Give Jeff our best, and enjoy the rest of your summer with your boys before they head back to school.
Thank you so much, both Marys, and good luck with everything. Have a wonderful summer and rest of the year. Thank you so much.
All
Thank
right.
you, and cheers to you. Sip, sip, hooray.
Cheers. Thank you.
Wow. Bibiana González Rave, Pisoni, is a force of nature. She is just a whirlwind. And I guess what's super impressive about what she is able to accomplish is that she does it all so well. You know, that she's got a lot of different things happening, but quality is always foremost. And she doesn't, never neglects quality in all of her endeavors.
Absolutely. And the wines speak for themselves. They're absolutely gorgeous, beautiful. But she's got that spirit that she never gives up, doesn't take no for an answer. It's that can-do attitude. And
Right? That
she's a dreamer. It's
She
great.
is like the kid sitting in the office just saying, I'll wait until you'll see me. I mean, I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. But it was such a pleasure getting to know her.
Absolutely. If you enjoyed the conversation, and we hope you did, we hope that you will like, share, comment, rate, do all the things that help other listeners find Sip Sip Hooray podcast. We thank you for listening, and we want to remind you can find us for Sip Sip Hooray podcast on Facebook and Instagram.
Right. And if you are on Spotify, if you're listening to us on Spotify, you can actually go and comment on this specific episode. We'd love to hear what you think. And you will find information and links to all of Bibiana's labels on our show notes on our website at sipsiphooraypodcast.com. We're also on Substack, Sip Sip Hooray Podcast. You can subscribe there and get notified when a new episode drops.
So thank you so much. We look forward to our next episode with another fun winemaker like Bibiana González Rave.
Mary Babbitt, cheers and sip, sip, hooray.
Cheers.